Next on MLR Weekly, Dylan the Butcher Fawsitt of the Chicago Hounds. Rugby Morning's John Fitzpatrick. Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News. The Rugby Network Play of the Week. Picks of the Week from the Rugby Odds. And the best rugby recap ever. Rugby Wrap-Ups MLR Weekly brought to you by Sheehy Auto Stores. It's easy at Sheehy. The Pig and Whistle, New York City. The world's best rugby pub. And Lean and Limber, stretching your way to a healthier lifestyle. To MLR Weekly, as presented by Rugby Wrap-Up, Matt McCarthy in New York City. Thank you for joining us. It's much appreciated, and we have a great show for you. In the green room, we have Dylan the Butcher Fawsitt from the Chicago Hounds. We also have Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News. We have John Fitzpatrick with his recurring segment, Rugby Morning's Coffee Break. But before we get to any of that, we have the best danged recap in rugby. Let's get to it. In Tukwila, Washington, reports of Sam Windsor's demise have been premature. He is alive and kicking, literally, and scoring tries to boot. Get it? This all while adding to his all-time MLR point-scoring record. The former Sabercat and Rugby New York star also got into the try zone in stunning fashion by teaming with Mac Mason for a highlight reel try. The Charlotte anthem of Carolina North were no pushovers, though, and Junior Galba had 20 tackles and 155 meters on the ground for the anthem. Final score, 29-13 Seattle. At the Maryland Soccerplex outside the nation's capital, Old Glory, D.C., and the Miami Sharks were locked in a defensive struggle in the rain, with Miami earning a 10-5 lead. That's when Axel Muller took things into his own hands, the restart that is, and raced 30 meters, that's about 33 yards, for a huge Old Glory try. 3 yellow cards kept the Sharks swimming upstream as the District of Columbians held on for a much-needed win. Just days after head coach Simon Cross came on this show. Coincidence? We think not. Final score, 13-10. Oh, jeez! Out in Harriman, Utah, the Warriors and Sabercats had many a curious brow raised in anticipation of another Western Conference clash. And how about that Seth Smith, the youngest player to ever start in a Major League Rugby match, just 16 for Houston. Utah looked poised to be spoiling his day, though, as they were up 2 players and ready to at least tie the matchup. But Dom Aquina stepped in, and the Cats escaped with 8 of their 9 lives intact. But they did pick up some injuries. Watch out for those. Final score, 29-24 Houston. In New England, the Free Jacks were looking to stop Chicago's 3-game winning streak and avoid losing their 3rd match at home this season. But 2 yellow cards cost them dearly against the gelling Hounds, who gnarled their way into the try zone twice while up a player. Dylan the Butcher Fawsitt, who's waiting in the green room, so I better mention his name, and Mac Jones, who scored twice, helped the Illinoisans hold off the depleted Massachusettsans by a Hounds whisker. Final score, Windy City 26, Beantown 20. In San Diego, the waiting for Giteau was finally over, even if his arrival was switched to YouTube at the last minute. That's right, Aussie legend Matt Giteau indeed made his first appearance for the Legion, and first since the Giltinis won the controversial MLR Championship. But the Dallas Jackals almost ruined the return behind star in the making Geronimo Gomez Vera. San Diego did just enough, however, and got the win with a little luck. Yet the Jackals poached 2 key bonus points in the loss, while depriving the host from the 4-try bonus point. Final score, 30-24 Legion. Woo! I know we could use a break, but not a commercial break. How about a coffee break with Rugby Morning's Coffee Break and John Fitzpatrick calling in from Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia, America. John, welcome. What do you got?
Hey, Matt. We got to start with the Houston Sabercats. They're now 8-1. And hooker Seth Smith became the youngest starter in MLR history. This, of course, was just a week after he became the youngest player to score a try in a Major League Rugby match. But Matt, quite the week for our boy Seth. USA Rugby named him to the traveling roster for the 2024 World Rugby Trophy North American Qualifier. That's a mouthful. Against Canada next month. But Matt, future's looking bright for some young American prospects.
Yes, it is. And it's an exciting time that I never thought I'd see in my lifetime, with a clear pathway to not only the national team, the Eagles, but also to a professional team. You're a kid now, even in grade school. You could say, oh, I want to play professional rugby, and do it in your own country without people looking at you like you're completely insane. Next.
Matt, we got to talk about that Chicago Hounds New England Free Jacks match in the Eastern Conference. Of course, the Free Jacks, they can't catch a break, really getting bitten hard by that injury bug. Okay, well, of course, Chicago had that big win at Veterans Memorial Stadium. But, Matt, that was New England's third loss at home. Given the injuries that are starting to mount up for the Free Jacks, fair to say that the East is wide open?
The East is wide open. That is a fair statement. And you know what? Trying to repeat is a tough thing in this league, because everybody, they get up to the champs. And the champs right now are a little bit wobbly because of all the injuries. But it is a long season. There's time for these guys to come back. New England's got a bye week, I think, coming up. This ain't tennis, man. This ain't tennis. Everybody's got to deal with injuries, and everybody's got to deal with attrition. And we'll see who deals with it the best. Next.
Yeah, I got to bring this up. USA Rugby, they also released the traveling squad for the 2 test matches that the men's Eagles are going to host in July. Romania and Scotland. Of course, that's ahead of the Pacific Nations Cup in August. But Matt, of the 55 players named to the traveling squad, 43 of them are on Major League Rugby rosters. Matt, what do you think of that?
That's incredible. That's incredible. And, we're getting into that quagmire of arguing between whether we have too many international slots or too few international slots on professional rosters in Major League Rugby. And it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, because I don't necessarily think that you need to have more Americans in your starting lineup to develop the national team. And I also don't think that the professional league is here to just develop the Eagle pool, right? I think it'll be a byproduct of players playing with better players and practicing with better players and playing against better players. Your byproduct will be that the Eagle pool will be so much better than it's ever been. But we'll wait and see. Next.
Matt, lastly, I want to close out here just talking about the Pathway program. Congrats to St. Mary's College for winning the D1A National Championship. If you didn't see it, what a great title match that was against the Naval Academy. Really a great showcase for high-level college rugby.
Thank you, John. We're going to steer away now, take a break, and come back with Mr. Dylan Fawsitt, the butcher of the Chicago Hounds, after this.
Digs like a demented mole there.
Need a great price on a new vehicle? Sheehy makes it easy. Easy Price shows you our lowest prices on the Mid-Atlantic's largest selection. Find your best price online or at any of our 31 dealerships.
It's easy at Sheehy. Sheehy.com.
You need your cleats? You need them tomorrow? If you order today by 3 p.m. New York time or noon LA time, they can have them to you tomorrow. Young, old, male, female, if you're playing on turf, if you're playing on grass, if you're playing in the rain, you're playing in the heat, they've got you covered. RugbyNow.com. Go there now.
I'm Makito in New York City.
And we are back with one of my favorite all-time rugby players and guests, Mr. Dylan, the Butcher Fawsitt. Dylan, welcome back to MLR Weekly.
Thanks, Matt. Good to see you.
Likewise. Dylan, I got to say, first off, there's a ton of us that miss you back here in New York, but we are very happy for your success in Chicago.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it means a lot. I definitely miss it in New York, but Chicago has been it's been amazing to me and my family, So
Dylan, things are now clicking for the Hounds. 4 games in a row, 5-3-1 on the season. You're but 3 points behind the Free Jacks on the top of the table, and you went in to Quincy and beat the Free Jacks. Familiar territory for you as a New York player going up there and having success, but maybe not for a new franchise like this. What was it like, and what was your role in this?
I think during the week I was just able to, elaborate, inspire the lads maybe just from my own experience of being and playing at Boston. It really is a cauldron, and we're very fortunate to have such an epic arena in the MLR. They are a proud bunch of people up there. It's a hostile environment, and it is probably the most epic place to play in terms of atmosphere.
And you have had personal success there. You're familiar with getting into that try zone up there, and you did it again this week. They had 2 yellow cards, key moments in the game, but you guys capitalized on those cards to get those points and then held on. And it was a slugfest. It was fun to watch, but a great win for the organization too, right, going forward, because now you guys are starting to, you know each other, you're clicking. It's not easy when all these different pieces have to come together, specifically only in the second season, right? And all the other teams are getting better. So what do you think been the main component of the gelling?
I think it's never easy when you have a 70% turnover in any team, so it was really like just coming together. It was always going to take time, to build these connections, play guys in certain positions, and really it was time. So we are coming together. Now listen, we left so much out there at the weekend. There were so many highlights with so many things that we can work on. We're definitely growing and striving to grow and really striving to get that 80-minute performance, which we haven't hit yet. But it's exciting knowing that we have the ability to do that, and it will be such an epic day when we do finally, start clicking and fulfilling our, potential. There's a crazy amount of experience, and I'm very fortunate to be a part of this team and to know that, there's so many people have your back, like, look, Billy Meeks is having a baby tonight, today at some point. He was nearly on a plane home on Friday night, but the man, he stuck in it. Michelle held on, and please God, they have a healthy baby boy birth today. But Billy understands how special this is and how important he is to the team. So it was, it's inspirational stuff. He's truly a great leader, and we're just around making sure that it's moving in the right direction. We hold each other accountable, and we continue to move forward because, as you know, it's an early franchise. It's so young, but there's so much opportunity.
That's excellent. And of course, you're expecting another member of your family soon, right? How soon are we off?
Yeah, we're a month out for a baby girl, so please God, everything's going great. Mom was very uncomfortable, and now she's I think being away there at the weekend was tough on her, especially with a toddler. So we'll be looking to bring in the reinforcements. Grammy will be on the plane pretty soon.
We kid back and forth about the butcher and all that stuff, but it's first and foremost your husband and father, right? So, and you just mentioned Billy Meeks going through it and having his wife holding off until he got home, but it is in perspective. It's a game. Yeah, we're all making a living at it. It is a business, but life comes first. I just wanted to go back to when you went in there. You also have fellow Eagles on the roster that knew you too. So it was even a better situation in terms of that. What do you think of the anthem situation with the development or the idea, theory of developing the Eagles players pool and having a team in the league doing that? What's your take on it?
My take is that it could easily be the greatest thing that ever happened to American rugby. Besides the MLR, realistically, having a team that's fully invested in breeding and bringing up, developing American talent is just absolutely everything that American rugby needs. So, I'm a massive advocate for it. I know it's tough right now, but that place is only going to grow with the great people that are involved. And, I truly hope that everybody can understand that when times are tough, they just have to trust the process we've all been there when it hasn't gone our way. But if you stick it out and you get the culture right and you get the right people in the door, you can truly do special things.
You're a perfect person to speak to this because you've been front and center and watched this pathway actually develop and form right before your very eyes. And you're a guy that didn't have that pathway. You did it the hard way. You came from Ireland. You went to school here. You played for club. You played Life. You played Old Blue. Then you bounced around. I think you were with the Ohio Aviators too, right? In Pro Rugby USA.
It was. I mean, I've been very fortunate wherever I've gone. We've been mostly a winning team, So I understand that it's tough down there in Anthem.
I've always said the two most insane positions in sports are hooker in rugby and goalie for lacrosse. And I'm just wondering if you might endeavor to maybe try out being a goalie in lacrosse at any given point, just for the heck of it, with some clicks.
Well, I played in goal in hurling, which is very similar in Ireland, Matt. So I'm sure I would enjoy it.
So it's not a no. It's not a no.
It's not a no. It's not a no, man.
All right. Well, Dylan, again, it's a pleasure to see you. I miss you dearly here in New York, but it's great to see you and the family doing well in Chicago. And I know the fans are just going to love you more and more each week. Great stuff.
Miss you too, man. It's great to catch up.
And Mr. Dylan Fawsitt, the Butcher, on MLR Weekly. We'll be right back. And now your Major League Rugby Play of the Week brought to you by the Rugby Network. In the daunting environs of Utah and with Houston precariously leading by 5 points in the 60th minute, dangerous Dom Aquina picked off a pass in athletic fashion and raced 40 meters untouched for the try while two of his teammates were in the sin bin. A pivotal turn of events that helped secure the SaberCats win and leave Warriors fans worrying about a lost opportunity. In Quincy, Massachusetts, the man they call the Butcher, today's guest Dylan Fawsitt, was in his old stomping ground, as when he was with New York, he used to stomp his way into the Free Jacks try zone. But this pivotal try against the defending champs who were down a player because of a sin binning was for the Chicago Hounds and helped his team hold on versus New England. New England, meanwhile, showed the heart of a champion and almost came back to win despite an injury list that is growing by the minute. Although his team would ultimately lose a tight, hard-fought match to San Diego, Dallas blindside flanker Geronimo Gomez-Vara ran over New England All Blacks legend Ma'ananu for a statement try. Could this prove to be a youth will be served moment in the Wild West? Ironically, only time will tell. But beware of the Dallas Jackals. And the Rugby Network Play of the Week is Dylan Fawsitt's try off the driving maul, the Butcher's specialty, spurring Chicago to their fourth win in a row. And yes, his being on this show helped in the decision process. Here's your TRO, the Rugby Odds MLR Picks of the Week via WWE Hall of Famer turned rugby advocate and excellent handicapper John Bradshaw Layfield and King Gift A. Bailu, the Yogi Berra of rugby.
Dallas against LA. LA started off looked like they were going to be very good, and they're not. They've had some injuries. They've had a lot of problems, but give me Dallas -6 to win this game.
Chicago over Old Glory. I think Old Glory, even though they got a win, it was a struggle win. And I think Chicago is legitimately on a roll. The Windy City is about to show out again. -6 points, cover, win.
I wouldn't like to be at the bottom of that.
If you're in New York City and want to watch some great rugby, have some great food, and some great times, go to the world's best rugby pub, the Pig and Whistle on West 36th Street. This is the Rugby Odds, where an unlikely pundit panel of a wordsmith, a WWE legend, a rugby star, and a supermodel scour the globe, seeking best bets and bad behavior. Are you not entertained? Hey, U.S. fan, can tune into every match live on Flow Rugby. How do we know that? Because we're on there all the time. And we're back again with Mr. Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News, or at Ray's Rugby on Twitter. Bryan, welcome back to MLR Weekly.
Good to be here, Matt, after another eventful weekend of Major League Rugby.
And once again, Bryan, you're conflicted with your attire and your location. Please explain.
Well, was at the game, just checking out, and these wonderful teams back here, Chicago and New England. Well done, Chicago, for the victory. But then we saw San Diego pull it out of the fire against Dallas. So there you go, Mr. Gitto. That one's for you.
Yeah, the waiting for Gitto is over. What did you think of the arrival of the much ballyhooed Australian fly half?
Well, he looked like a guy not far from my age, so but he's still in good shape. I'm not sure I want to see Mr. Gitto running into a lot of brick walls over the next few weeks, but hey, he's still got the skills, obviously. Maybe he got the cobwebs out on that first penalty kick that he just barely squeaked through the post, but he got the job done. It was great to see him. I mean, he's such a presence, right? And it's just a shame we didn't get to see him and Nanu on at the same time. A little bit of false advertising maybe from San Diego, but I'm confident we'll see that pretty soon.
All right, Bryan, let's get to next week. Let's see who you like. All right, first one up, Bryan, the anthem. Charlotte or Carolina?
I believe their name says Rugby Carolina. So if they wanted the team to be called Charlotte, maybe they could have called them Rugby Charlotte, or just the Charlotte anthem or something. So Carolina is the answer to that.
And of course, my wife, who doesn't know a thing about sports, just said, so which Carolina? Which isn't reflected. And anyway, it's the teams in the league. Come on, man. They're hosting Houston. Houston road favorites by 22 points. And these odds are courtesy of our partners over at the Rugby Odds.
Well, Houston, they don't really stack up huge amounts of points on teams. They just kind of grind them down and end up beating them by, 10 points or something like that. So this might not be a huge blowout. I think, we'll probably see Houston rotate their squad a little bit as well, take that opportunity. So Anthem might be able to beat that spread. I mean, Houston will definitely win this. So, man, this is tough. You know what? I'm going to take Anthem to beat that spread. Why not? We'll see what happens in this one.
All right, Dallas, the dangerous Dallas Jackals, hosting L.A., who are completely depleted. 4 fans are going to be starting for L.A., I'm heard, and they're Dallas fans because they're on the road. It's Dallas -6 over LA.
Yeah, I'll take Dallas in that one. I think they'll finally get the W in this one. It might be a little bit of close, but no, I like Dallas to put on some points against, as you said, a very beaten up LA team.
And the next one is a very important game for the NOLA Gold, specifically now that Chicago is finding a groove. Old Glory got some bodies back. They squeaked out a win, an important win. NOLA hosting Seattle, -7, Seattle, road favorites.
Yeah, this is a tough one. You said it. NOLA's got to start getting some results and getting some confidence back pretty soon here. I don't know what the status of Jordan Jackson Hope is, but he's so important to that attack. Hopefully he's back soon. Although, that said, Rodney Yona's been doing all right at number 12. And Seattle, I don't think they're going to be too pleased with that game against Anthem. They looked kind of disinterested for a lot of that game, and it maybe was a little bit closer than they thought it was going to be until they kind of pulled it out in the second half. I think Seattle probably covers that spread. They're just a better team than I'm intrigued about this one, but I'll take Seattle in that one.
Well, one could argue that Seattle gave some players some rest and had some other guys in the lineup that might not be in the starting lineup necessarily. So you could make that claim. Chicago on a 4-game tear. We just had the Butcher in. -6 versus Old Glory. This is another interesting, important match.
It is. I'm inclined not to vote against the Butcher. And Chicago did beat my Free Jacks on the weekend. I think I got to show them some respect now. They look like a pretty good team at the moment, certainly a lot better than the beginning of the season. DC not convincing at all against Miami. I thought they were pretty dreadful in that first half. To be honest, they should have been out of sight, and they weren't. So DC's got some work to do to prove that they can, put some points on the board, and it's just not happening at the moment. I'm going to go with Chicago to win by 10 to 15 points in that.
Really?
One. Yeah.
So I'm really torn here because I'm scared of the butcher, and I have a Sheehy Auto Stores car. So you'll have to see what my pick is on the Rugby Odds. Miami hosting Utah, and here's one of those. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't picks. It's -4 Utah favorites on the road in Miami. As I'm saying it, it doesn't make sense.
Miami's pretty beaten up as well. They've had a few guys. Hopefully, Bonasso is back. Piusi, though, isn't going to be there. He's suspended. Hopefully Ardau's okay to play in this one. But then, Utah's lost Manson and Bradford, and they've got like 4 centers out. So neither team entirely healthy in this one. I think Utah's probably the better team at this stage, though. It was close against Houston, although Houston was never really, in question winning that. And Miami, they really should have been beaten a little bit more by DC. They didn't look super sharp in that one. I'll go with Utah to beat those points on the road.
All right, Brian, now that we're this far into the season, who's going to win the West and who's going to win the East?
I'm going to back my Free Jacks in the East. The West, I like the way Houston is trending. I think they got really great depth. It's going to be tight with them in Seattle. I think I'll go with Houston. So Houston and New England are my picks at this stage.
Did you hear that? That was Adrian Balfour, the Seattle Seawolves owner, calling. He just heard you with that remark and wants to speak to you. And Brian, Mitch Jacobson's out for New England.
Yeah, he missed this last game. They certainly could have used him, but it just says something about New England's depth. I mean, that they were still.
How deep can you possibly be? You lost 5 of the best players in the league,
and somehow they're still right up there with the best. So I guess tip of the cap to Tom Kindly, New England's GM, for putting that squad together. But yeah, obviously, when you lose 5 of literally your best players, that's got to be concerning. So fingers crossed, a couple of those are back. Before too long.
All right, Brian, final thought.
Well, shout outs to the 5 Major League Rugby players included in the USA U20 squad that's getting ready to play against my beloved Canadians, who I'm rather fearful for, looking at the quality of the team that the Americans are putting together here. So I know Scott Lawrence was putting a lot of priority on that team this year. It looks like he's got the players that he wants, and man, Seth Smith had what a game he had against Utah. So to think that he's going to be smashing up against my Canadians is not a great thought. So looking forward to see those games nonetheless.
You want to put a Tim Hortons maple glazed on it?
Out of pride, I'll put one on the line, but a very unconfident pride.
All right, you got it. No loonies or no toonies, just the Tim Hortons maple glazed. All right, fair enough. On that note, I want to thank Mr. Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News, Mr. John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Morning, Mr. Dylan the Butcher Fawsitt of the Chicago Hounds, and thank you for tuning in. Please check out our other shows, including the critically acclaimed The Rugby Odds. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Sign up for our weekly newsletter. Please tell your friends about us. And please join our American Red Cross blood donor team.